Let's move on to your first failure. And I just want to thank you for writing these so beautifully. And I won't do them justice, but hopefully you will in your words. Your first failure is politics, and specifically how you see your failure within three areas. Tell us more.
In my work, and also with these social impact companies that my husband and I established, Sapienship, my goal is to focus the public conversation, to focus attention on the three big threats to humankind in the 21st century, which are the threat of ecological collapse, of global war, and of disruptive technologies, and especially AI, artificial intelligence. And since I began to work on this project of bringing more awareness to these three problems on all fronts, it's just been getting worse very quickly, and it's really getting worse. So of course it's not on me. I mean, it would be megalomaniacal of me to think that I can really move the needle on such big issues. But still, on a personal level, it feels like not a hopeless struggle, but a struggle in which many people, I'm including among them, that are trying to make a change on these issues, we are failing. And we are failing in a big way. You look at the ecological crisis. Again, I try to think back to, let's say, 10 years ago, to when I started to research and to write and to talk about it. And here we are in 2024, and lots of people have the impression that it's hopeless. Like, it's hopeless not because humankind doesn't have the resources to prevent catastrophe. It has. This is the tragedy. I mean, we are not the dinosaurs. I mean, when the dinosaurs were hit by the asteroid from outer space like 65 million years ago, this was not a tragedy in the Greek sense. It was a natural disaster. There was nothing the dinosaurs could do about it. But we are in a different situation. We know what is happening. We know what is about to happen. We have the economic, the technological resources to prevent it, and still we don't do enough. I know it's not really on me, but I still feel it as a personal failure. And it's the same when you look at the international situation and the deteriorating. And we are now, like 10 years ago, when people talked about a potential third world war, this sounded completely crazy in 2014 to think there could be another world war. And in 2024, some people say, and not without justification, that it has already erupted. That the Third World War erupted on the 24th of February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine. We still don't call it a world war, but we are on the way there. The same way that when Hitler invaded Poland on the 1st of September 1939, people didn't know it was a world war. It took something like 2 years. And the invasion of the USSR and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, until people say, okay, it's a world war. And obviously, when I look at my region and my country, in Israel, things are like I'm living in a country that is collapsing on many levels, practically, but also morally, spiritually. And finally, like my biggest focus in recent years was on the dangers of AI. And, this train is moving faster and faster, and everything we say about the dangers, maybe it has a little influence, but it's not slowing down.
We'll come back to Israel, and I also want to ask you so many questions about what you've just said. But for the moment, let's focus on AI. There is a brilliant section in Nexus in which you analyze the history of the Bible as we know it. I found it so riveting and so clever. Why did you do that? Why did you use that as your concrete example?
Because, AI, the fantasy of AI is to create a perfect technology that will enable us to take humans out of the loop. We know that humans are fallible creatures. We make mistakes. We could be corrupted. So humans have dreamt for thousands of years to find a source of knowledge, of information, of decision-making that is free of all these human problems. This fantasy was not born with AI. It goes back thousands of years, and holy books were a kind of technology that aimed to do just that, to take humans out of the loop. The idea that you have a source of information which is coming from a superhuman origin, from a superhuman source, and it is never wrong. It has all the answers. It never gets anything wrong. It cannot be corrupted. So this fantasy is old. And we saw in the previous iterations that it's just a fantasy. It doesn't work. That even, again, the decision what to include in the Holy Book ultimately is a human decision. We tend to forget that, or at least people who believe in the book, they afterwards forget how the book was created. But every Holy Book goes through a process of canonization during which some people choose what to put in and what to leave outside. And these decisions, made centuries ago, completely forgotten, they still shape the world today. Like you have in the Bible, there is one of the most misogynistic texts in the Bible is the first epistle to Timothy, which is ascribed to St. Paul, but a lot of Christians back then, and also a lot of modern scholars, say it was a later forgery. And nevertheless, some church fathers at the end of the 4th century, in the councils of Hippo and Carthage, they decided to include this text in the Bible. In contrast, they left out many texts which were popular with ancient Christians and who had a much more positive view of the abilities of women. And this decision about which texts to canonize and which texts to leave out, they shaped Christian attitudes towards women for 2,000 years. And the same is happening now with AI, that we are now in the process of canonizing certain AIs, and this decision could be even more momentous than the decision what to put in the Bible and what to leave out.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the full episode of How to Fail on your preferred podcast platform, and also be sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates.